Happy Monday, guys. Good morning. I hope you are talking to yourself a lot during this time of being in shelter in place. It's a good thing to do, to talk to yourself. We saw that yesterday in Psalm 42 about how David talked to himself, talked to his own soul, and preached to himself to hope in God. A lot of this language comes from Dr. Martyn Lloyd-Jones. He has a book which is basically a collection of sermons from years ago. He's passed away now. But a book called Spiritual Depression that I recommend. And there's a section in this book where he discusses this psalm and the art of talking to yourself. This is what he says. The first thing we have to learn is what the psalmist learned. We must learn to take ourselves in hand. This man was not content just to lie down and commiserate with himself. He does something about it. He takes himself in hand. But he does something which is more important still. That is, he talks to himself. This man turns to himself and says, "Why art thou cast down, O my soul? Why art thou disquieted within me?" He is talking to himself. He is addressing himself. But someone says, is that not the one thing we should not do, since our great trouble is that we spend too much time with ourselves? Surely it contradicts what you've already said. You warned us against morbidity and introspection, and now you tell us that we have to talk to ourselves. How do we reconcile the two things? In this way, I say that we must talk to ourselves instead of allowing ourselves to talk to us. Do you realize what that means? I suggest that the main trouble in this whole matter of spiritual depression, in a sense, is this, that we allow ourself to talk to us instead of talking to ourself. Am I just trying to be deliberately paradoxical? Far from it. This is the very essence of wisdom in this matter. Have you realized that the most of your unhappiness in life is due to the fact that you are listening to yourself instead of talking to yourself? Take those thoughts that came to you the moment you woke up this morning. You've not originated them, but they start talking to you. They bring back the problems of yesterday, etc. Somebody is talking. Who is talking to you? Anyway, he goes on. But this issue of how the self is going to talk to us. But are you talking to yourself? And what are you saying? And the psalmist in Psalm 42 goes through these issues of how he's longing for God, panting for God. And he asks himself, because he's cast down, he's depressed. Why are you cast down, soul? Hope in God. So he's preaching to himself, calling himself up to God and what God has done. He's honest with him. He says things like, why have you forgotten me? Why do I go about mourning? But then he says, why are you cast down, O my soul? Again and again, he's questioning himself. He's not just taking what his self says as the truth. He's questioning himself and the thoughts that he's having, and then applying the truth and promises of God to that. We can even do that in the psalm that we read today, Psalm 57. The cries of the psalmist, I cry out to God. My soul is in the midst of lions. Again, he's in a position of trouble. And then he goes on and he says, my heart is steadfast, O God. My heart is steadfast. It's almost like, again, he's talking to himself. My heart is steadfast. I will sing. I will give thanks. I will sing praises to you. I'm going to start telling myself what to do. I'm not going to stay in this state. But I'm going to announce that God is exalted, that God's glory will be in all of the earth. He will speak the truth and he will sing the truth to himself and to those around him. So anyway, I hope that's helpful to you. Talk to yourself and tell yourself the truth. Preach the good news to yourself today. See ya.